What's going on? This is the Mind Equity Podcast, and we're here with Chris Cinematic. Give him a quick intro for people that don't know who you are.
My name is Chris Cinematic. I run a 7-figure content agency, run a 6-figure content studio. I've been in the content or creative space for the last 4 years and a half. Started working at an Amazon warehouse about 4 years ago, quit that to do this full time.
You have two businesses, coaching and consulting. You're consulting other videographers, and then you also have your studio where you're taking on clients that need you for videography and photography. What is it that you actually sell for your coaching clients? And then what do you sell as your services and packages for your other clients?
So funny enough, I actually run 4 companies. Yeah, I have a coaching program. I do have a content agency, and then the studio is actually separate from the content agency. So the studio is more of like a low ticket kind of funnel that we use. It's more of like a rental studio versus like a full blown like agency, but we do upsell quite a few people to the agency from the studio. And then I also have a software that I created that essentially helps videographers get more leads for their business. In terms of the coaching program, yes, I basically help videographers scale their business from 0 to 30K a month is usually like the goal that we try to hit. And that's pretty much using all the systems that I've built in my business. So that's creating the perfect offer, how to acquire clients, all of the backend stuff, sales, systems, and then building a dream team. That's the first one. The studio is more of a studio rental. So people pay an hourly rate to essentially come into the studio. They'll film their podcast, reels, ads, etc. Just pretty much anything they need. And it's fully done for you. So they come in, we have an operator, we have all the camera gear, the sets, lighting, microphones, all that stuff. You don't have to worry about like setting up. And then we have somebody who records the entire thing. And then typically if you're doing a podcast, the operator can switch the camera angles live. So you get the full podcast edited. And then we have the software list scraper. So if you're looking for, let's say like a dentist or a roofer in New York or Miami or pretty much any area, it's going to load you hundreds of thousands of that type of business with like their Instagram, phone numbers, all that. And then we have the content agency. The content agency, we help local service-based businesses scale using paid ads plus content. And then we use a little bit of the studios sometimes to fulfill or shoot stuff in there. But typically we shoot either at their office or if they have like some sort of location.
You kind of made a shift. You were selling services and then you started to sell results. When you started selling results, it started bringing in more revenue for you on the long end. Talk about that a little bit for new videographers that maybe they just started making money with their camera and now they're, trying to figure out how to get more pricing confidence.
When a business owner pays you, let's say for a video, most videographers think they're paying me for a cool video or a cool edit, but in reality, business owners are paying for what that video is going to do for their business, right? So typically, the outcome that they want from that video is going to be either more leads, more sales, more authority, etc. So if you're a videographer going into businesses thinking that they just want a cool video, then you're 100% mistaken. Ultimately, for me, the biggest metric that I look at is lifetime value. How can I get this person to, 1, pay me thousands of dollars every single month? And then 2, how do I retain that client for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, right? So even for us in our agency, majority of our clients have been with us for at least minimum 2 years, right? The reason why is because we have a really good offer, which is content plus ads. Just content alone is just very hard to give somebody a very predictable result or, an ROI on their investment on whatever they're paying me. If you pair content with paid ads, now it's a lot more predictable. Now I can go to a business owner and say, hey, I'm going to generate you 15 and 20 leads per month for your business using content and ads as the tool. Now you come off as more of like a marketer or like a partner versus just like a videographer, right? So videographers don't get paid that much. A marketer, a partner, a content strategist, this person gets paid a lot more money because they're solving a true pain point. They're solving something that these business owners have problems with that most videographers just cannot solve with only video. When I first started, like at least the first year, that's all I was offering was content. And I kept seeing clients just keep leaving, right? And it was the same thing every time over and over and over. Hey, Chris, the videos are dope. The edits are amazing. Like you're amazing at shooting it, but I'm just not getting money back in my business. I kept seeing that pattern over and over and over again. And it really hit me like, okay, these businesses really are not just paying me for videos. So that's pretty much when I made the pivot in terms of like running paid ads for them, creating high converting pieces of short form content content. And now the lifetime value of each client that we have is pretty much 2 years plus.
That's amazing. As you scaled your business, when did you start to delegate? What did that look like?
For me, when I was scaling my business, I delegated pretty quickly because, again, for me, I knew that if I wanted to build something great, that I couldn't let my ego get in the way. In the beginning, there's always going to be that intuition of no one could do it better than me. I'm the best editor or whatever the case is, right? Like all these like limiting beliefs where there is people out there that can actually do things better than you. For me, it probably was when I hit my first 10K month is when I hired my first assistant and my first editor. I was running with like 3 or 4 clients. But again, I was doing all the shooting. I was doing all the editing. I was staying up till like 3 a.m. So I was making decent amount of money, but I was completely burnt out. And ultimately the reason I got into videography and I quit working at Amazon, because I was, when I was working at Amazon, I was spending 8-9 hours a day packing boxes. And then now I'm basically not doing the same thing, but I'm, spending all the way till 3 a.m. editing videos, being super stressed out. So it's like, I'm basically doing the same thing, just getting paid a little bit more, a lot more, but I was still stressing. Ultimately, that's when I hired my first assistant. She pretty much took care of all the little tedious tasks. So even for me, when I was hiring the first assistant, I was really trying to think like, what could she actually do for me? But then there's all these little things that you don't even realize that you're doing. Sending them like a calendar link, booking flights, whatever it is, like these small little things that take up your time add up to a really big time-wise. That time you can really spend doing something else. So that was the first person. And then the second person was the editor. That's another kind of like limiting belief that most videographers think that they're the best editor. No one can edit as good as me. It has to be my personal touch. Or if the client, thinks that somebody else is doing it, they're not going to like it. At the end of the day, the clients don't care who edits the video as long as the video looks good. And it's as long as they like it, that's all that matters. So if it's you, if it's somebody else, it doesn't really matter. From there, I pretty much got the editor, bought back about 20-30 hours of my time every single week. And that's really when we like started to scale. But to answer your question, those are like the first 2 main hires I had.
Everyone has bandwidth. There's levels to this. Now that you have a team, what are some of the obstacles that you face?
There's something called like the theory of constraints in business. What basically that means is that like all businesses have like constraints, right? For example, videographers, they can buy, a brand new camera, a brand new laptop, fix their offer, fix their sales process, fix their fulfillment, et cetera, right? But what is the true critical constraint in your business that if you were to solve would essentially double the business, right? So most videographers don't really look at that way, or if they're trying to solve their constraint, it's not the right constraint. It's not the true critical constraint in their business. So for example, most videographers think that if I buy a better camera or if I upgrade my camera, I'm going to acquire more clients or make a lot more money. That is not always the case and never pretty much converts that way. The true constraint would be more of like the actual offer and like what they're giving people so they can charge more, retain people, etc. My constraint right now is we've already solved the offer issue. We've already solved the issue of acquiring clients. We've already solved the sales process. We've already figured out the backend systems. My constraint right now is that I have actually too many leads that are coming in that I actually cannot fulfill. My constraint right now, or like my bottleneck, is that I don't have enough team members. So that's something that we're actively pretty much pushing ads or running ads to hire new people.
What skills does somebody need to have if they want to get into videography or photography as a profession outside of being amazing with your camera?
You have to have the skill of letting go of your ego, to be honest. And I think that's a skill. Like you have to like actively train. You have to actively let go of the ego, learn how to delegate, learn that, again, you're not the best that can do what you do. There's better shooters out there. There's better editors. Ultimately, you need the skill of letting go of your ego. Also, when it comes to like scaling your business, right? Most videographers think they have it solved. They're like, I don't need help or I can do it on my own. Like, yeah, 100%. But like, what's the opportunity cost of like not learning from somebody who's already done it or getting education or help from somebody, right? Because of your ego, quote unquote. Right now, we have 27 clients on retainer. We have about 14 team members and all my team members are absolutely amazing. They get all paid really, really well. Even my project manager this Thanksgiving, like he sent me like a huge message, like thanking me for like pretty much the last like 2 years that he's worked in the company. He's been able to like send his sister to like college and like all these different things because of, again, the agency that I built, the company that we built, being able to pay our people really, really good. So one, I'm helping, other people with like, job opportunities. You're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing a disservice to your clients by trying to do everything yourself. Because ultimately, if you try to scale and get multiple clients, you don't really have the bandwidth to give everybody 100%. So it's more of a disservice to everybody by you having an ego and not trying to hire team members and help you scale the business that way.
Let's talk about both clients, right? What signs do you see from a student? They're not going to really be able to apply, what you're teaching them. And then also, like, what kinds of clients, maybe they have the budget to work with you, but it's not a good fit for whatever reason.
I think, to be honest, a very similar answer for both types of people. I believe it's the people who are not willing to put time and energy into like building whatever it is. So if it's their personal brand, if it's their own business, the difference between someone I believe that's successful versus not, it's just doing the right things every single day, like doing the critical things that you need to do every single day. So I have basically what I call like a power list. It's essentially the 5 core things that I need to do every single day to push my business, to push my life. That could be in different aspects. It could be spiritually, it could be fitness, it could be actual business, but these are like the core 5 things that are just going to overall push my life forward. For me, the people I see not succeeding are those types of people who are just not doing the proper things, or not putting the right time, don't have like the proper routines, sleeping in late, things like that.
I really do like that answer because I've had clients that in the beginning, it's always just building rapport and trust. Once they find out that you're legit, once they find out from working with you that you're easy to work with, then some clients will kind of just try to take advantage of you. They'll be like, okay, now that I figured out that you're legit, I want you to do all the work for me. What can I get you to do for free? And then there's coaching clients too. You can go and teach someone something, but it's not going to really retain into their mind in an actual business scenario until it's actually applied. Being a great teacher is really not about telling someone what to do or telling them that they're wrong. It's about showing them what's right and putting them in situations where they have to exercise the new lesson that you're giving them.
100% agree. I, coach probably at this point, upwards of like 50 plus students. And ultimately the people who I see succeed are just the ones that, like, if I show them the way, they walk the path. I have some students that I show them the way and they just don't walk it, or they just don't want to. And at the end of the day, I see it as like black and white. Is either you do or you don't. That's it. You either implement or you don't. The action takers are the ones who are going to succeed. The way that I see it, going back to like my power list, basically what I try to do is I just try to win every single day, right? So the more wins that I get every single day, so let's say I win today, I win tomorrow, I win the entire week. The more weeks I win, the more months I win, the more years I win my life. So my goal is to just get as many W's and as many wins as I can, and eventually I will reach whatever that goal is.
Let's talk about coaching some more. When it comes to the student, like, how does a student go and check to see, what would you check if you were hiring a coach?
I would essentially look at, where their life is at and see who they are and what they align with and their values. Because at the end of the day, I wouldn't want to get mentored from somebody that I don't align with or someone that I just don't want to become. So I think that's the first thing. It's just like, look at somebody that you truly want to become. So for example, I have a mentor of mine. His name is Ravi. He kind of became my mentor through like working with him, taught me a lot of things, even the way that he dressed, the way that he spoke, like all these things. I basically started taking that from him because I loved who he was, dressing nice, the way that he spoke, the way that he was delivering his messages, like all these different things. For me, like I knew that he would be like the perfect mentor and somebody I wanted to work with. That's the first thing. Second thing is just like look at what they've actually done. Have they done what they say they do, right? Or whatever they're teaching. Me scaling other videographers to, let's say, $30,000 a month to create a content studio, all these different things. Have I actually done it? Yes. Is it something that I currently do? Yes. I would rather learn from somebody who's done it or still is doing it versus somebody who might have got lucky or did it once or isn't currently doing it versus someone that is currently doing it and has done it.
No one wants a fat personal trainer.
You don't want a fat personal trainer because, why would I want to work from somebody who hasn't got the results for themselves?
Let's talk about success. What do people assume about the success that you have now that isn't true?
I think videographers think the level that I'm at is impossible. That's like one thing I know for a fact because I talk to so many of them. When they hear like the numbers that I'm doing, the teams that I've, built, the studio and the people and guests that we have coming in. So I think a lot of videographers have such limiting beliefs or don't believe in themselves or think that where I'm at right now is like impossible. In reality, again, going back to like doing the right things every single day and just implementing the right things, right? So it's not just doing anything and everything, it's doing the right things every single day. It is 100% possible. I actually spoke to a videographer, I think a couple days ago, where he said that I've never met a videographer that is making 30 grand a month. And I told him, I'm like, I know you haven't because one, most videographers are broke, and two, most videographers, that's all they are videographers. And I told him that's a huge limiting belief, right? Just because you don't know somebody that hasn't done it doesn't mean it's not possible possible, right? Because I know people have done it. I've done it myself. I know hundreds of people have done it, but because you haven't seen it or because you don't know somebody doesn't mean it's not possible. So I think it's a huge limiting belief that to make a lot of money, it's going to take 10 plus years. No, you can dedicate literally 6 months, like straight focus, and you can easily hit like 50 grand a month.
What about the negatives that come with where you're at that people wouldn't expect?
Dude, to be honest, like it just takes a lot of work. So this is something that it takes a ton of work. It's not as easy as people think. I think it's simple, right? Like to get to where I'm at is actually very, very simple, but to get here, it's very, very hard. Long nights, you're going to have to miss a lot of things, right? Like, you know, even birthdays. I didn't celebrate my birthday for at least the last 3 years because I literally was so focused on my business that I didn't care about my birthday. I didn't care about holidays. So you have to give up so many things that people don't really realize, and you have to be able to be comfortable giving up those things. And most people just aren't, right? Most people want to celebrate their birthdays. Most people want to go out, you know, for holidays for like a week or 2 weeks, you know, the weekends they don't want to work, etc. Right? It just takes so much commitment to scaling your business and growing it. This would have to be the pure thing that you have to focus on to really scale it to like the level that you want to. If you're distracted by like all these other things, unfortunately, it's going to be like very hard for most people.
When did things start working for you financially? Just because you hire an administrator or an editor doesn't mean you just overnight are going to have a successful multimedia business. Did you have like a pivot point, or was it like a combination of you working hard on personal growth and other things?
It might sound a little different, but it was having conviction in myself. So before I reached any level of success, I knew that before I even was successful, it's like I had conviction that I would reach the goals that I wanted to reach. So that's the first thing, because some videographers or creators don't have that conviction. So they don't end up doing the steps that they need to do, or they're scared or whatever. So that's the first thing. Second thing is I literally did whatever it took. If I needed to DM 100 people per day, that's what I did. And when I ask people like, how many DMs are you doing, you know, per month? They're like, oh, I'm doing like a couple. Like, no, like I was doing 40, 50 DMs myself every single day. All right. So how do you expect to make money or grow something that's, you know, great by doing something that's mediocre? If you want to be part of the 1%, you have to do what the 1% are willing to do, right? So for me, I was sitting there DMing 40, 50 every single day, every single day, every single day. And that was actually part of my power list. I could not go to bed and scratch off my power list until I did those 40, 50 DMs every single day. So it really is doing whatever it takes. And then I basically got to the point where I just compounded all these different things that I was doing. And eventually like success just started to kind of hit. And then once it hit, it just like took off. One of the biggest things too, to be honest, is really hiring a mentor. I'm a big believer in like mentorship. I'm a big believer in education. I've had about 4 mentors at this point. And at the end of the day, you know, can you learn everything yourself? 100%. But I would rather learn from somebody who's already done it, look at their failures, and just scale a lot quicker. Because I truly believe there is something called like opportunity cost. If I would have done it myself, I could have still been, you know, at the same position, or I could have been very similar to where I was 4 years ago. And that would have costed me millions and millions of dollars versus if I would have just paid a mentor. Now I've made a lot more money. For me, yeah, it was really those kind of big things on how I actually like took off. And then from there, once it kind of took off, I essentially just like compounded on what was already working. My mentor at the time basically gave me the foundations and a lot of the things that I know today. And then from there, what was already working, I just doubled down, scaled, and now we're pretty much where we're at.
That's awesome. You have to delegate certain parts of your day to certain parts of your business. So do you have your entire week already or entire month already time boxed out? Like your administrative assistant is collaborating with you on your calendar? What does it look like for you?
I do value my time a ton. The way that my schedule looks right now is that Mondays and Fridays are my maker days. And that's essentially very high leverage tasks, right? So that could be creating content, I can be running paid ads, things like that, right? Things that I can basically duplicate my business, which normally is always going to be marketing or sales. Then Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, those are going to be my days that I do like more managing tasks. So I'm doing like calls with like students, I'm doing calls with like team members. These are days that I'm really just doing more of like the actual calls, some operation stuff. In terms of like the agency and like the studio, to be honest, I basically don't do anything at this point. We pretty much have a position for everything. So any process that we have in the company, there's somebody that can take care of that. For example, I have a project manager who does all the client communication. He talks to the editors. He even does team meetings every Friday. I have a creative director who does all of the actual ideation and scripting. I have a full-time videographer who does all the shooting. Obviously, we have the studio. So the studio basically pretty much runs on its own. We have an operator who does the actual like studio sessions. That is ran actually by my girlfriend. So she does like all the operations of like the actual studio. And then other than that, another like quick gem too. Another thing that I'm a true believer in is that like I want to make sure that my people feel fulfilled and inspired. So one of the things that I actually do with a lot of my admin members is that I have them set their own goals. So it's not something where I tell, my project manager or my creative director, or let's say my appointment setter, like, hey, this is what I need you to do and this is the goal. No, no, no. What is the goal that you want to hit? And then let me help you hit that goal. I make them feel like basically they're the CEO of their department, which they basically are. And I tell them like, hey, you're the CEO of your department. I want you to set your own goals and I'm going to help you as CEO, with whatever resources or whatever you need to hit that goal for yourself, right? So they feel super, super empowered versus me just telling them what to do, right? So typically what I do on Fridays is I do my goal meetings. I have a goal meeting with my admin members, and in that goal meeting, they have their goals, they track their goals, like what, where we're at in the goal. Let's say, for an appointment setter, if his goal is to book 40 calls and he's at 20 calls, we look, okay, cool. What have we accomplished? What do we need to do? What's blocked? Does he need anything from me? And then what's next steps? So then every single week, I'm making sure that my team feels fulfilled in hitting their goals. And then I help them as much as I can. And then normally on a monthly basis, they've hit their goals. We set a new goal and then we kind of keep it from there.
Speaking of goals, do you have any goals that you want to talk about for 2026?
My biggest goal is really not like to achieve anything in terms of like number wise or like, buy anything. For me, it's to really become the best version of myself. And it's really through like systems, like creating systems for me, stick to my schedule, really value my time. I used to give like a lot of my time to a bunch of people because I love giving, I love teaching, I love coaching. Like, so I would book, coaching calls at like 8 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, midnight, things like that. For me, I know that even at that point, I'm doing myself a disservice because I would go to sleep late, wake up early, all these things. So then I wouldn't be able to give the next person 100% of myself. I want to go into next year with a proper system where I can be myself fulfilled. I don't want to get to a point where I'm like drained or like burnt out. And I know if I can stick to something like this or a system that I created, I can pretty much give, all myself to everybody.
What have you been implementing in the past couple months that has been helping you when it comes to your mental headspace?
Doing something outside of like my office or like my work area. One of the things that I've been doing is playing paddle. So I don't know if you're familiar with paddle, if you've heard of it before. It's like a combination of like tennis / like pickleball, because I used to just be here like all the time, right? I would be in my desk, I'd be in my office or in my home, and I would always be inside. So for me, I started to play paddle. It got me a lot more active. I actually lost about 20 something pounds, like 25 pounds in the span of like 4 or 5 months. And I felt a lot better, felt cleaner, felt sharper, all these things that improved my overall life. And because of all these things, I started to improve in business as well. I didn't really understand it because I thought it was just like grind. I didn't really need to like go work out or do any of this stuff. It was just like, as long as I'm like working, I'm fine. But when I started to play paddle, I really saw the difference of like, no, like you do have to like step out because actually not working is like being productive. Like you not working, you kind of stepping out. It doesn't have to be playing paddle. It could be the gym. It could be walking. It could be whatever. It's actually a lot more productive than you think versus me back then. I thought like, oh, if I'm not working, I'm being unproductive.
You're playing Grand Theft Auto and you got your sprint meter, right? A lot of people think that if they just hold down the sprint meter, they're going to get theirs, the fastest that they can. Complete an action without getting stopped by losing stamina. Some of the most successful people that I've worked with, I've studied them, and what's fascinating is not only are they very systemized, they're very good at not rushing to end a conversation, giving themselves enough room to be present. We'll try to cram so much value into a piece of our day. What we need to do a better job of is being present along the way and giving yourself enough time. Time management. There's time boxing. I'll use Google Tasks. I can just go and star whatever are my signal, and then everything else is just noise. When you realize that you're a human being only capable of accomplishing one thing at a time, you have your power list of 5. I think that's amazing. I've tried to dial it back to like 2 things. And then I've got, my list of everything else here. Keep the top priorities on the top. And there's always room for improvement. What do you do for like organizing your day so that it doesn't really take you too long to figure out what your signal is?
I have my maker days and then I have my managing days. For my maker days, I have 2 separate like tasks that I have, or 2 separate categories. I have my critical task and then my managing task. So on my maker days, I do all my critical things. That could be shooting content. I could be running paid ads. I could be looking at our sales process and KPI numbers and seeing what we need to pivot, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I do, strictly Mondays and Fridays, right? And on those days, I'm not doing anything like manager wise. So I'm not doing any calls. And it could even be like, I have a deal that's on the line that wants about to close or this or that, I don't do it. I don't care because I know like what I'm doing is way more important. It's going to give me a bigger ROI than trying to collect, $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever the case is. For me, it's really sticking to those times and not really like trying to veer from it. From there, that's pretty much what I do.
Do you think that people should plan out their entire week instead of just planning out their days?
I've never really done the whole week thing. I really do it like the day before or like the morning of. And I just look at like in my power list, it's 5 things, but it's not all like business oriented, right? It could even be like dress nice. Like one of my power tasks could be literally dress nice. So it's literally anything that's going to push your life forward. If I dress nice, I feel good. I'm already, I'm performing better, etc. So one of the things could be literally just dressing nice. Typically another one is like working out. That's kind of a non-negotiable for me at this point. What are the things that I need to do today to really push my life forward? And then you pick it, right? And it doesn't all have to be these. I'm not a big believer anymore in like, you have to work like 12, 13, 14 hours days. Like you can work 8-hour days and get a lot done, right? Especially if like you know exactly what you're doing. For me, that's pretty much what I do. I just go day to day, and depending on the type of day, that's the task that I do for that day.
We talked about time management, which is huge with mental health. We talked about exercise. We still didn't talk about diet. Do you have like a specific diet?
To be honest, I literally just eat like brown rice and chicken like every day. That's like strictly my diet. It's just brown rice, chicken. My girlfriend pretty much cooks it. If she doesn't want to cook it, I do DoorDash. To be honest, we actually DoorDash a decent amount, and it's pretty expensive, but it saves us so much time. So for me, in terms of like my hourly, what I consider like my hourly rate, it's 100% worth it to like DoorDash if I need to. In terms of diet, not like a crazy diet. It's literally just like as clean as possible with like chicken and rice.
That takes, little to no time. It's very easy to food prep.
Yeah.
You can just marinate it. You use some Italian dressing, put it in the freezer.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside of diet, there's other ways that's slept on. I think how you communicate, the people that you work with, but also with yourself. Have you tried to make any improvements on your self-image or the way that you talk to yourself?
It goes back to actually like the whole dressing nice type of deal. It's like, I used to not really dress nice, or didn't really think it was like a big deal. So I'd always wear like shorts or like random t-shirts and stuff like that. My energy, I could feel it. If it was like conscious or subconscious, I can feel it like just being lowered. That's kind of like one of the things is like, I do want to feel better about myself. So just like dressing nice, even if I looked at myself in the mirror and I saw that I looked nice, I instantly just like felt better. Even like getting haircuts. So I get haircuts pretty often. So I get probably haircuts either every week or twice a week. So I always like to feel fresh, dress nice. And this is just subconsciously going to make you feel a lot better. Even when you communicate with people, like you're going to flow a lot better. You're not going to sound like very monotone because again, if you feel good, you're just going to overall express a lot better. And then from there, obviously, if you feel good, it's going to go into your employees. It's going to go into like your clients, pretty much, your family members, etc.
I've worked with a few people that are kind of pessimistic, and I feel like that's like a kind of like a limiting thing. It's really hard to teach someone to not be negative. Did you ever struggle with being negative at any point in your career?
Not too much, because I've always consumed like the proper things, right? So like I've always watched like, let's say like Alex Hormozy and like all these like top guys, Pace Morby is like another big real estate guys. So I always consume the right things. I even stopped listening to like rap music. I listen to a lot of just like lo-fi and like chill music, and just like even things that don't have like lyrics in it. I'm a true big believer in like what you consume is like what you become. For me, the only thing I consume is things that I truly align with and what I want to become for the future. Because it's not just what you eat, it's obviously like what you put in your mind as well, but some people don't really think about it even when it comes to the music. So for me, I think if a lot of people cut a lot of those stuff from their mind, they would probably be in a lot better like headspace. Most videographers, they rely on like referrals, like word of mouth, which is probably the most like unpredictable way to get clients. And ultimately there's 4 ways to acquire clients: paid ads, outreach, which could be cold or warm, you have referrals, word of mouth, and then you have content. Other than those 4 ways, there's nothing else. If you're relying on referrals and word of mouth right now, that's the reason why you're probably stuck and not making money. Let's say you're posting content. Content is very unpredictable. You can't really, you're relying on the algorithm of like Instagram and YouTube and just the platforms in general. So very, very, unpredictable. Then we have outreach, which is a really, really good way of getting clients. But the thing with outreach is that you have to be doing massive volume with a lot of consistency. So not like, 10, 20 DMs per day or a couple DMs a month. Like, no, you need to be doing at least 40 to 50 every single day. If it's not you doing it, then you hire somebody to do it. Somebody that you could hire to do that is basically a commission-based appointment setter. So somebody actually does the entire outreach for you, and they only get paid once you actually close the deal. So they're incentivized to do as many outreaches as possible. So for example, in our company right now, we have an appointment setter that we've been using for the last 2 years. He does the 40, 50 touch points every single day. We do about 1,000 touch points every single month. And from those people, about 10% of those people, show interest or like are curious on like learning more of what we do. So let's just say out of those 100 people, about 10% of them are like very, very serious and they like hop on a call and they want to take the next steps. And then out of those 10 people, we'll get about 2 to 3 of them that actually like pay and move forward. So now I built a system that's a lot more predictable, something that I know if we do X amount of inputs, we're going to get X result versus, again, I'm just going to do a couple, right? Which is not really a system. And then obviously we go into paid ads, which I believe is the most predictable way. It's just like, hey, if you call out the exact person that you want to work with, you have a good structured ad. Most of the time, if you have your funnel really dialed in, you can pay, $1 in and get $3 back, $5 back, $10 back, etc. If you're a videographer and you're only relying on referrals and word of mouth, stop doing that. Start doing the other methods.